Hey, this is Jason Moore from the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, and you're listening to the Tyler and Eli Fantasy Football Tips Podcast.
Tell it how it is. Father and son, boy, it's never been did. Oops, I'm not done. We all about the fun. Trying to be the one, not another bum. So, fantasy football tips. Probably win one, maybe 2 or 3 ships. Oops, I'm at Hun. Eli is the one. Tyler makes the sum. Belosky and it's done. Woo!
Welcome to another episode of the Tyler and Eli Fantasy Football Tips Podcast, Season 3, Episode 46. I am Tyler Belosky.
I'm Eli Belosky.
And thank you so much, Jason Moore, for that intro. Jason Moore is from the Fantasy Footballers, as he said. He's a great guy. Shook his hand, talked to him for a little bit down in Fort Worth at the NFFC. Amazing guys there from the Fantasy Footballers, Andy Holloway and Mike Wright. Eli, we are going to be doing tight ends tonight. We're going to rank our top 10 to 12, depending on time. I'm ready. Are we pumped for this episode?
Yeah, let's go. As we're going to talk about later in the episode, tight ends are not very deep. You got to pick one mid-draft if you want to get a good, reliable one.
Exactly. Like I said, we'll talk about it. If you don't get those top 3 or 4, you got to be getting them in this early in the second and third round. And if you're not, you're going to take some of these other guys 7th, 8th, 9th round. Because
to stream them, yeah.
Well, even could start because streaming.
Like Kyle Rudolph, you could definitely start. You wouldn't need a backup. You could just pick one up for his bye.
Exactly. But if you have like a Jack Doyle or Charles Clay, you're going to be streaming them. But again, like Eli said, tight ends are weak this year, so you got to get them early, or you're streaming and hope for something good. But before we get to our tight ends, let's get to our 9s. That's our news, info, notes, entertainment, and stats. Eli, rookie running backs from Seattle, Rashad Penny broke his finger, which is kind of big because you kind of need your hands to run the ball and hold on to the ball and even catch it. So that's pretty big in Seattle. I was never going to draft him. But now you're going to have to be cautious of drafting him because he's going to miss the rest of the preseason and maybe week 2, 3, and 4 because of that broken finger. And they don't have that many running backs in Seattle, Eli.
Yeah, they got like Chris Carson, and that's really it.
That's it. So I mean, you're going to be playing the what if game or who if game in Seattle if you're going to go that way. I'm actually staying away from everyone in Seattle this year. Just because of the offensive line and the receiving core is not that great.
Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin. Doug Baldwin as right around like a week 2 solid, or a week 1 solid 2. And then Russell Wilson, obviously a number 1 quarterback. But yeah, like he said, I'm going to stay away from Seattle. Yeah, except for their defense. Their defense is going to...
they got a little weak this year.
Like a streaming defense.
They were a streaming defense because they lost a lot.
Like your league you're in right now, your 16 league or 16 team draft.
Oh, with the Red Shirts podcast, yeah, yep. I would take two defenses in that league. I mean, they are getting a little weaker and everything, but that's for a different episode. Another guy I'm staying away from is rookie running back from New England, Sony Michael. He has a knee injury. I believe it's a recurring injury. So I'm definitely staying away from him. I'm not going to draft him this year because of that. I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to play week 1 and 2, and then we're going to sit out the next 3 weeks. And who knows? And especially the way New England rotates running backs in and out, Eli, with Rex Burkhead, Mike Gillislee, James White.
Deion Lewis.
Yeah, I'm not touching any of those guys. A.J. McCarron, Buffalo Bills quarterback, broken collarbone last night against the Cleveland Browns, Eli. That is huge for the Buffalo Bills team itself. Not so much fantasy relevance because you're not going to draft him anyways. Yeah, you weren't going to draft him, but now you can kind of hopefully Josh Allen will get the start. Again, I'm not really drafting him for redrafts, maybe a bye-week filler if he's doing well. And I'm not drafting Nathan Peterman anyways. No way. Neither one of them. But it's going to take a hit on those wide receivers with Kelvin Benjamin and Corey Coleman, who I'm looking at. I'm really liking Corey Coleman this year now that he's moved on from Cleveland. But and LaShawn McCoy is now going to have to put a little more on his table and carrying the ball a little bit more. So maybe shy away from him because they're going to double up in that box.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on, 2 running backs sprained their knee. That would be Jamal Williams and... Wait, what?
They sprained their ankles, not knees. Sprained ankles. I know, I have sloppy handwriting.
Jamal Williams and Samaje Perine both sprained their ankles. This is pretty big. I mean, it's definitely going to hurt Washington's running game. And just with Darius Geis and now Samaje Perine gone, they have Chris Thompson,
Rob Kelly. And even actually, right before we started the podcast, I saw that they signed Orleans Darkwa in. They brought him in. They're going to sign him to probably like a one-year contract just to get another body in there. I mean, he came from the Giants. He was a free agent. So Orleans Darkwa is most likely going to end up on the Washington Redskins team this year because, like you said, they need that running back help. And as far as Jamal Williams in Green Bay, that's huge because Aaron Jones is already going to miss the first 2 weeks of the season because he's suspended.
Ty Montgomery can't. First of all, he doesn't know if he's a wide receiver or a running back, and 2, he can't hold on to the football. I mean, he got stripped last week. Not last week. In week 2 against the Steelers
Preseason
on a kickoff. Yeah, preseason. Yeah.
Well, luckily though, I think because he's on kickoff, I think maybe they're just experimenting with that because they have a couple other guys who can do that, and. He's going to have to be running back now, at least for the first 2 weeks, because
Aaron Jones
out, and obviously Jamal Williams with a sprained ankle. Granted, it's just a sprained ankle, so he's going to take the next couple.
You need your ankle to run.
Yeah, and that's not saying he's not going to be back and ready for week 1. That just means you may want to just keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on it for you too. Keep you up to date on that. Eli, what do you got next for our 9s?
Running back, Rex Burkhead. Smash.
A small tear in his knee.
Small tear in his knee.
I have horrible handwriting. He can't read it.
That's kind of big for the Patriots because, again, they've lost 2 running backs now. Sony Michael and Rex Burkhead. So now they have James White. I mean, James White isn't terrible. But he's not a number 1 running back.
Oh, no. Definitely not. And I just read just recently, again, before we got on that, it's not a huge injury where it's going to keep him out, but it's a small enough tear where if he keeps going at it, it can turn into a large tear. So just be aware of that if you haven't drafted yet. You know, he was going 7th, 8th round, but now that he has that red flag on him because of an injury, you may want to back off a little bit and take him a little bit later so you don't get burned by him as your number 2 or your flex. Depending on how you draft, he would be a number 2 for me if I went receiver heavy. So,
receiver heavy.
Yeah, so just be cautious of that. Again, we'll keep you up to date on that. And another thing we're going to keep you up to date on is the Big Ben concussions. Obviously, he had a concussion earlier this week, but now he's out of protocol. So... he's good to go, but with concussions, you get one, it's much easier to get another one and another one. So just hopefully Big Ben can play it safe.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to the main segment, the top 12 tight ends for fantasy this year. I'm just gonna start us off. I think we have the top 5 are all the same, but we're gonna take a little bit just to talk about every player. I have Gronk at number 1, obviously. Coming into New England still. He's got TB12 throwing in the ball. No reason not to... Well, the only reason I wouldn't put him at number 1 is because of all his injuries and his age. I mean, that's his only downfall, his injuries.
Yeah, I have him also at number 1, and again... He's got the best quarterback ever in the league right now, throwing him the ball. He's really the only receiving option right now until Julian Edelman comes back off suspension. Yes, it's Chris Hogan there. But, injuries are a huge factor with him. But last year he did pretty well about staying on the field all year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of proven to me that the injuries should be done by now. He's obviously wearing all the body armor with the arm armor and all the protection he has. So he's a solid one. He's going late second, early third round if you are one of those guys who draft tight ends early. And as we said early in the podcast, get the top 2 or 3 guys within the third, fourth round. If not, wait. Number 2, I have Travis Kelce from Kansas City. He is obviously, to me, the number 1 target in Kansas City, even over Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins.
Definitely.
He's a solid, consistent tight end every week. He's going to put up 15 to 20 points for you. He's the quarterback's
Patty Mahomes.
Patty Mahomes, as you called him last week. He's a quote unquote rookie this year.
Yeah.
So he's going to be looking for the tight end because that's your safety valve. So he will definitely be a PPR machine this year for you guys. Again, going late second, early third round in redraft leagues.
Yeah, definitely. I have Zach Ertz, the Super Bowl champion, at number 3. I think with Trey Burton gone, I think that takes a little pressure off of him. But anyways, they got he's the number 1 target there. Before Alshon Jeffrey and what's his name?
Nelson Aguilar?
Yeah, Nelson Aguilar. He's going to get so many passes thrown to him. He's going to catch a whole lot of those. He catches really well in traffic. He's just going to be a monster in the red zone.
Yeah,
like he always has.
Yeah, if he doesn't put up 10 to I'm going to say 10 to 15 touchdowns this year, they're not using him correctly. I know they brought in the rookie Dallas Goedert or however you pronounce it, but he's a rookie. Rookie tight ends don't really do a whole lot. He's the number 2 tight end there. Carson Wentz always looks for the tight end, so I'm not worried about Wentz or Nick Foles not throwing to him. They both will throw it to him. Again, just like Kelce, he's the number 1 target there in Philadelphia. Eli had Kelce at 2. I don't think we mentioned that. I also have Ertz at 3. We both have Greg Olsen at 4 out of Carolina. Again, the number 1 target in Carolina for Cam Newton. Devin Funchess and DJ Moore are the wide receivers, and Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. But Olsen's the number 1 guy. He's going to be good for 90 to 100 catches this year and probably close to 7 to 10 touchdowns. You can start Ertz, going back to Ertz real quick, he's going late third, early fourth, just like Greg Olsen. I'm going to say go late third, early fourth round. Greg Olsen is steady. He's starting to get a little bit that injury bug for him. Last year he was dealing with a foot injury, but he's solid, consistent, 15 points or so every week. He's a good, solid number 1 tight end for you.
Definitely. And then we both have Evan Ingram at 5, and after this it starts to trickle off a little bit.
Yep.
But Evan Ingram, last year he was the only target in New York, so he had a really bad year, 3-13.
You love saying that, don't you? You love to bring up the Giants. 3-13. Yep.
But anyways, they're going to be 13-3 this year.
I hope so. That'd be awesome. They're going to be close to that. I think they're going to turn it around.
With Saquon
and Evan Ingram.
Back to him.
His problem is that he only catches about half the balls that are thrown to him.
Yeah, he drops a lot.
He has the cases of the drops. Now, granted, he had a lot of pressure on him last year as the only target because of injuries of Beckham and Shepard. So, maybe they were pressing him a little bit to step it up a little bit. This year, though, the pressure's off him as far as he's not the only target. Obviously, injuries will play a part of that. But he's got a great quarterback with Eli Manning. He's got a great offensive line now to help protect Eli. The receiving core is healthy. The running back's ready to go. So the pressure will be off. Will his numbers drop a little bit? Yes, because there's more targets now spread out. But he's still going to be consistent. He's still going to be that solid number 1 tight end for you. Go ahead and draft him. I'm going to say 4th, 5th round at the very latest. If you go any earlier, you're going to be reaching, but if you go any later, he probably won't be there after the 5th because I'm going to take him 4th or 5th round.
Definitely.
Now, as Eli said, this is where we're going to start branching off together from each other because the top 5 are roughly the same. For me, number 6 is Kyle Rudolph out of Minnesota. I was overhyped on him last year. I had him down for 100 catches, 1,000 yards, and 10 touchdowns. I was way off from that last year.
Okay.
This year, though, I think it may be a little bit closer to probably 80, 909 or so. But he's got a good quarterback this year, Kirk Cousins. The running game is excellent, which helped the passing game. Yes, Diggs and Thielen are there, but you're going to be doubling them, and so now the tight end is going to be wide open across the middle or on the out passes. So I like Kyle Rudolph this year. Eli, what do you think about Rudolph? Because you have him at 7.
Yeah, I have him at 7. Rudolph, he's gonna definitely produce, I think, a little bit more than what you think this year. Just because I think he's like the number one. He's like the number 3 target there. He's the only tight end, which is good for him. I think he's gonna get a lot more targets because Kirk Cousins coming in with the new playbook, all that. I think he's gonna rely on the tight end a little bit more than Case Keenum did last year. So I think he's gonna get a little bit more than like 90, like 900 or
Probably 1,000 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably 9 to 10 touchdowns, I'd say.
Yeah,
that's good. Those aren't bad numbers. I mean, that's going to be solid, especially in that offense where I think they're going to be pass heavy. Eli, who do you have at 6?
At 6, I have Jimmy Graham. He's coming to Green Bay. He's got arguably the best quarterback in the league right now, in Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be the number 1 target with Jordy Nelson going to Oakland. I think that Jimmy Graham is going to have close to the numbers as Kyle Rudolph, I think, will have. So, like, 90, 900 to 1,000, and 10 to 12 touchdowns this year since he's the only passing target.
Yeah, I have Jimmy Graham at 7, so just under Rudolph. I don't think he'll be the number 1 target because they have Devontae Adams there, but I think he'll be the number 1 target in the red zone. Because he's a big-bodied tight end. I think the Packers will use him much better than Seattle did. I think you're going to start looking at Jimmy Graham as when he was at the Saints
yeah.
with Drew Brees. I think he was just misused in Seattle. He was new to the system. The first year he was great. The second year he was okay. But I think Green Bay is a spot for him this year. He's got a better quarterback. He had a great touchdown this past weekend.
Yes, first Lambeau leap.
Yeah, so
ever.
he's a solid pick for you. Again, if you're going to take him early, take him anywhere from the 4th or 5th round because I don't think he's going to last longer than that because I think, he's obviously getting older, so he will he'll start fading. He's obviously got the injured bug to his name with ankles and stuff like that. But, yeah, Jimmy Graham is a good solid pick for you. Number 8 for me, I have very consistent but very getting old Delaney Walker out of Tennessee. He's consistent. Marcus Mariota loves him. They don't really have too much receiver threats there. I mean, Corey Davis is his second year. Rashard Matthews isn't super great, but he's good. So I think Marcus Mariota is going to rely on Delaney Walker once again this year. Anywhere from probably 75 to 85 catches with 800-900 yards. And he's going to be that red zone threat. So he's going to get about 7 to 10 touchdowns again. I like him a lot this year. I would take him as my solid number 1 tight end. And Eli, this is where you're going to start probably waiting on tight ends now that we're on the numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10. So Delaney Walker, if you can wait until about the 7th, 8th, 9th round, that'd be a perfect spot for him because then you can load up on your receivers, running backs, and maybe even a tight end in there.
Yeah, definitely. At 8, I also have Delaney Walker. Yeah, he's the only target there in Tennessee. So, Marcus Mariota likes the tight end because there's no receivers for him to throw it to. At number 9, I have Jack Doyle out of Indianapolis. I think he's, with Andrew Luck most likely coming back this year, I think he's going to have way more passes and way more touchdowns this year and yards and all that. He's going to be a beast. He does have Eric Ebron to back him up, though. But I don't think he's going to play too much of a part in Jack Doyle's production.
Yeah, I like Jack Doyle. But, again, Andrew Luck is, yes, he's starting to play a little bit more every year or every week now. Excuse me. But, again, I have to see Andrew Luck in a real game. I don't have Jack Doyle ranked at all because of Andrew Luck. Now, if Andrew Luck continues to show me that he's going to be doing it this year, then I'm putting in Jack Doyle right up there. Excuse me. But, yeah, Jack Doyle's that's a solid pick at 9. I mean, again, you're going to take him 7th, 8th, 9th round if Andrew Luck is good to go. The Colts are going to go, as we said, with Andrew Luck. And right now he's looking good, but I need to see him week 1.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Eli, so here's for me a little bit of a reach at number 9.
Yeah.
I have David Njoku from Cleveland. And here's why. Tyrod Taylor loves the tight end. They got a pretty good, decent offensive line. Tyrod Taylor can hit the tight end. This is his second year coming off of his rookie year last year. Second year tight ends usually do a lot better. Oh, excuse me. Wow, I'm just having a hard time now. Josh Gordon came back today, so he's ready to go back to practice. Deep threat down the middle.
They got Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry going over the middle. Josh Gordon going deep. So where's David Njoku? Red zone, first downs, cross the middle. Give me Njoku 80 to 90 catches this year. I'm going to put him over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. I like Njoku this year. I'm going to draft him every chance I can get, anywhere after the 9th round, though.
As a streamer tight end.
Well, for me, I would start him. I think he would be my starter. But I could see maybe streaming him with my next guy, Charles Clay or Trey Burton, because who knows what those guys are going to do week in and week out. But I would have no problem as my number 1 starter. But that's where I'm going to cut it off for my starters versus streamers.
Definitely.
All right, so who do you, Jack? Okay, so number 10, who do you got for 10?
I got Trey Burton. You mentioned him as a streaming tight end. He's definitely not a starter, especially with Mitch Trubisky. Not really proved enough yet. But Trey Burton, I think, is still going to finish as a top 12 tight end. He's the number 1 target there. They do have Allen Robinson, but I think Trey Burton's going to outproduce Robinson this year. And he's going to get like 7 to 9 touchdowns this year, I think. He's a good red zone tight end. Yeah. And I could totally see Mitch Trubisky throwing bombs down to Trey Burton.
Yeah, across the middle. Yeah, I like that. I have Trey Burton at 11 just because of who I have at 10. But Trey Burton's not a bad pick in the top 12 because he is his first year with Chicago. Mitch Trubisky's his second year as a quarterback, so he's going to be relying on that tight end position. They're going to be double teaming Allen Robinson, rookie wide receiver Anthony Miller is starting to come on hot, so he's going to see a lot more coverage. Trey Burton's really the answer for you at tight end in Chicago. Running game's great, so Trey Burton's a solid pick. Again, he's kind of borderline. Do I start him or do I stream him? Watch your matchups, I guess. That he's kind of borderline there. Same with David Njoku. Number 10 for me, I have Charles Clay out of Buffalo. Even with the A.J. McCarron injury, I think Peterman and or Josh Allen is going to rely on Charles Clay a lot this year. Tyrod Taylor loved him last year. He was the number 1 targeted and receiver in Buffalo last year. So Charles Clay is a solid streaming tight end. Team him up with Njoku, team him up with Trey Burton, Jack Doyle. You're not going to go wrong with that, or anybody else we're going to name later, just because he's plays for Buffalo, and who knows what they produce in and out every week. You could even team him up with Jordan Reed, maybe Ben Watson out of New Orleans this year. He came back. Drew Brees likes him. So you have a couple streaming options right there with Charles Clay and Jack Jack Doyle and Trey Burton. Number 11, I have Trey Burton, as we just talked about, from Chicago. Again, all these guys we're mentioning now, you're going to take them after the 8th, 9th round, if not later, depending on how you drafted already, and if you want to stream. So, Eli, who do you have at 11?
11, I have David Njoku. Don't really need to talk about him too much.
Okay, we're going to move on to 12. We both have Cameron Brate at 12 out of Tampa Bay. I also have him teamed up with O.J. Howard. I think they're both kind of the same players there in Tampa Bay. Cameron Brate's a little bit of a better pass blocker, but O.J. Howard was brought in to eventually become the new tight end, even though they just signed Brate for a huge contract. But I have Howard and Brate at 12. Winston and Fitzpatrick like the tight end, so they're going to be dumping off to them over the middle and in the red zone. Both are solid streamers. I wouldn't draft them both because you can't stream them both because on the bye week they had the same bye. So Brate and Cameron are for me in my top 12. I don't think they'll finish top 12 right now because I think Jack Doyle will slip in there and maybe even Jordan Reed if he can stay healthy. You have anything to add with Brate and or Howard?
Not really. I mean, Jameis Winston, not the best quarterback, but he's pretty productive and pretty consistent. I mean, not like Drew Brees consistent, but not like Eli Manning inconsistent.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we do have one question from Twitter, Eli. It comes from Jason Beck. His handle is They Call Me Daddy. Jason Beck wants to know, if you were in a 16-team league, at what round would you start looking to take a tight end? Asking for a friend.
I'd probably do like 8th. I'm gonna see take a look at the tight ends in the 2nd round. But other than that, I'm gonna wait until like the 5th round for a 16-team draft.
Yeah, I really think it also depends on where you're drafting from. I know the league I am. I'm in the same league as Jason, so it's kind of funny that he asked that question. But for me, because I'm drafting in the first position, I have to start looking at tight end way earlier because I have to wait 32 picks or so before my next pick comes around on the flip. So for me, I'm looking at tight end probably 3rd or 4th round. If you're in the middle, you kind of maybe wait a little bit, maybe 5th or 6th, because your next pick's a lot closer. So, or if you're at the end of the draft on the 16th, 15th, 16th, 16th pick, you're gonna have to kind of cheat up and reach a little bit. But if you're in the middle, you're probably, like Eli said, maybe 5th, 6th, 7th round start, because it's a deep draft. That's a lot of players drafting, and there's not a lot of tight ends left. So, Jason, thank you for the question. Hopefully we answered it for you. Hopefully you don't steal my idea, though, because we're in the same draft. Eli, do you have any candy bar bets this week for tight ends? I know we have Rudolph and Graham at 6 and 7. You want to go with that?
Yeah, sure. I'll take Graham. You take Rudolph.
Sounds good to me.
I'll take Olsen, and you can take Ingram if you want.
Yeah, I'll do that. All right. We will do that. World famous candy bar bet. Most points at the end of the season. The other person owes each other a candy bar. We've done this for 3 years now. This is the 3rd year. The first 2 years, we've broke even every single time. Mostly because of injuries, but we've broken even. So what we just do, we just go out, buy a candy bar, sit by the lake, and just enjoy it talking fantasy football. Hopefully this year, Eli has to buy me all the candy bars. That'd be great.
I don't know.
All right, that's going to do it for our main event, our main topic, the top 10 or 12 tight ends this year for us. So we're going to move it along to where you can find us. You can find us on YouTube at the Tyler and Eli Fantasy Football Tips Podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe. That'd be awesome. Our subscription is going up every week. So thank you so much. Make sure you comment on it. That'd be awesome. It helps us out a lot. You can also find us at Tyler Belawski on Twitter. It's TylerBelawske. That's at Tyler Belawski on Twitter. All right, Eli, I think we're going to wrap it up. Any final thoughts?
No, not really. As we said earlier, though, take your tight ends early in like a 10, 12 team draft because they're not very deep. There's only like 10 that you can reliably start, maybe even 8. So you got to pick early if you want a good week-to-week basis tight end.
Yeah, without reaching though. Don't reach too much. Don't obviously you're not reaching in the 3rd round for Delaney Walker, but you may want to reach a little bit in the 5th or 6th depending on how well you draft. Yeah, I mean the top 3 or 4 tight ends, they're going to go 3 through 4th round. Anyone after that, they're going to go 7th through 8th. But if you want to reach a little bit, that's not a big deal. It all depends on how you're drafting and what your draft style is. And actually, I wrote an awesome article on Across the Fantasy Pond about draft strategies. Are you RB heavy? Are you wide receiver heavy? Are you streaming quarterback heavy? Are you tight end? So check that out, acrossthefantasypond.com. It's under Tyler Blosky. It's Draft Strategies. That's the name of it. Check it out. Awesome website there. All right, Eli. That's going to do it for I'm Tyler Blosky.
I'm Eli Blosky.
And you've been listening to Tyler and Eli Fantasy Football Tips podcast.
We tell it how it is.